there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, 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 everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Oh, today we are talking Stephen A. Smith because he says that Jay-Z called him to address his comments comparing Beyonce and Rihanna's Super Bowl performances. This is from Complex, but this is everywhere, so we're going to talk about it. And Stephen A. Smith revealed basically he got canceled by some big name Hollywood stars and stopped talking to him altogether because he compared Rihanna to Beyonce. So he said that Jay-Z had a word with him about the comments he made comparing Rihanna to his wife Beyonce. During a sit-down conversation with the Connect the Dots podcast, the legendary sports journalist recalled when Hov had to give him some advice regarding downplaying Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime performance and claiming that there's only one Beyonce in an interview last year. I love Rihanna. I bought her album. She gets my money. Mad love for her. Wish her nothing but the best. But you do know there's only one Beyonce, Smith said, recapping his initial statement and revealing some Hollywood stars were upset with his comments and never spoke to him again. Smith said he couldn't understand why the comments would make anyone upset, but realized where he was wrong once the Roc Nation boss stepped in to clear the air. A month later, Hov and I were on the phone. Hov was like, my dog, you family, that's family. That's too close to say that. I said, I didn't know. He said, I know, done. And Smith said, in other words, it's a business, it's a part of it. You don't know how she'll receive it, etc., etc. That is all he had to say. I appreciate it. And what happened was that shortly after it was going to be confirmed that Rihanna was going to be the Super Bowl halftime performer the year before last, Stephen A. Smith was going in. Before he even knew, what the Super Bowl performance was going to entail, before he knew what was going to happen, he was already downing Rihanna and hating on Rihanna and, basically just trying to make it as though nobody's going to be Beyonce, nobody's going to top Beyonce, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't even have an opportunity yet to see what Rihanna was going to give us, right? And so it wasn't fair. And, he still was like doubling down on it. And then he claims that he didn't know who the Navy was and all this stuff. And he didn't understand why he was getting canceled and getting dragged everywhere. No. You knew exactly what you were doing, Stephen A. You know exactly what you're doing, right? But here's the thing, right? Here's the thing. We need to, and this is why I don't like comparisons. We need to first address why Jay-Z said what he said, right? And I don't think it has anything to do with him in particularly defending Rihanna as much as it is defending his position as the activities coordinator for the NFL Super Bowl halftime performances. Because I don't think Rihanna and Jay-Z have been on good terms since Anti-leaked in 2016, people. If you have been under a rock, they have not been as close as they were prior to Anti coming out, because something suspect was about that leak that happened, right? Somebody knew, somebody wanted to sabotage Rihanna, and Rihanna, I would presume, has some suspicions, or at least confronted Jay-Z about her suspicions, allegedly, and felt as though something was wrong. Somebody was trying to sabotage her because she felt that this was like, one of her best albums, possibly her signature album, right? And it's still on the charts today. Even after all that sabotage, it is still on the charts today. On the Billboard 200 selling records. So I don't think they're on good terms. Like, they're cool, but they're not cool as they were before. They're good, like Usher says, but they're not good. like what they were prior to Anti-leaking, right? So I think it was more about Jay-Z protecting his image, is being in charge of saying who is going to be the halftime performer for the Super Bowl every year, ever since he has this position with the NFL. And it looks bad on him if you have these sports analysts basically trashing the Super Bowl halftime talent and entertainment that Jay-Z is responsible for. I don't think it had anything to do with any comparisons to Beyonce. And I will say this, right? Because like I said, I don't like comparisons. I feel like, with the way people, sometimes overhype Beyonce,
when I've seen, you know, what Janet Jackson does in concert. Those of you who are not, you know, old enough do not know the impact that Michael Jackson had of just standing there and not even singing yet, just jumping out of pyrotechnics and people just fainting. But before they even the show can begin, they're already fainting on the ground. I have never seen any artist in this lifetime have that type of impact like Michael Jackson. So when people try to elevate Beyonce to Michael Jackson, I have questions, right? And I don't care how many awards she has. I don't care how many records she breaks, because none of that matters if your music isn't that good. None of that matters if you, if I have to go back to your first album, is your signature song for Crazy in Love, or even your third solo album for, you know, Single Ladies. That I shouldn't have to go back into the archives of a signature song for somebody who's been in this business for over 30 years, right? So that's why I don't get these Beyonce comparisons. And people forget in that Super Bowl, she had special guests. Say what you want about Rihanna. You may not like her style of performing. Heck, you may not like her songs. But you can't deny that she has hits. She has, what, 14 number ones? And the gag is, she actually could have done another Super Bowl. There were so many hits that were left out of that performance that, you know, she could do another Super Bowl if she wanted to. And people, you know, were wanting her to bring out Jay-Z, wanting her to bring out Kanye and all these things. But in retrospect, it worked out for Rihanna, because Rihanna turned that into a commercial for Savage X Fenty and Fenty Beauty. All of the dancers, including Rihanna herself, had on Fenty Beauty. She took a break in the middle of the Super Bowl performance to put on some Fenty Beauty. All of the dancers had on Savage X Fenty attire, you know, and all of the things. So it was a commercial for Rihanna's businesses, in addition to her having a performance. And it was a surprise that she was also pregnant. And what I liked was how clean and how crisp that performance was. It wasn't all over the place. You weren't distracted with all these things. It was very much like Rihanna had a runway that was in the sky. It is what it felt like. It felt like it was we were in space with Rihanna, and she had a runway in space, and she was, you know, floating up and down, singing and all of the things. But again, I don't like these comparisons. And the biggest issue is Rihanna and Beyonce aren't even the same genres of music. That's what's so funny. Rihanna for several years has been known as a pop star. She was not even getting BET awards for several years, wasn't getting Soul Train awards, was not getting any of the Black awards, you guys, but was being acknowledged at all the white award shows. So she had always been a pop icon. She always had the pop hits. Beyonce, however, started out primarily with the urban audience. Being from Houston, starting out with Destiny's Child and all those things. And, you know, even some of, you know, even when she switched up with like Formation and some of her more recent albums, up until this country stuff, it has been catered to the urban demographic. It has been catered to the Black audience. And a big thing too with Rihanna, she also has a big international audience, you guys. This is the Renaissance tour, was the first tour in ages that that Beyonce actually did international tour dates for. She usually primarily just goes to every stadium in the US for the most part, but she hardly ever tours internationally because her songs, her music was not selling as good in comparison. And that's the other piece. That is why Rihanna is one of the best-selling female artists, is because globally everybody can, you know, relate. Everybody likes her music. Her songs are catchy and all of the things. And the biggest issue people have with Beyonce is she is permanently on the mute challenge. How am I supposed to connect with a celebrity that doesn't talk to me? How am I supposed to connect with a celebrity? How do you want me to support your products and support your music and I never hear from you? And the interviews that you do are emailed questions and answers. We do not physically see you talk. unless you're performing or accepting an award. That's not good enough, right? And that's the biggest issue that I think, you know, when the Beehive comes in and they get all upset if you come for Beyonce or if you critique Beyonce and all these things. The biggest issue that Beyonce has is she has never been able to connect to her fans. And Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, Michael Jackson, Janet, all of these other artists, regardless of flaws and all, regardless of the ups and downs that take place in a career, there is something relatable to them. There is something likable about them. There is something that people are still going to come out in droves to support. Beyonce, yes, she is always going to sell out her tours no matter what, even if the music is awful. I mean, people want to see the Beyonce experience. They want to see her at a stadium with suspect seats that are $1,000 and all the pyrotechnics and all of the craziness ever, right? But you're not getting all the hits necessarily, right? And the other side of it too is she sees how all of these other celebs are making all this money with all these ventures, skincare, you know, beauty, sportswear, all these things, and she keeps trying to put, you know, her stamp on it, and it's not working. How can we support somebody who doesn't even support their own ventures? How can we support somebody who doesn't even use the products that you want me to purchase on your behalf? It doesn't work like that. So it's funny to me when people do all of this, you know, hyping of Beyonce and all of these things. But when you really strip it down, a lot of her songs, in my opinion, with Destiny's Child, and I still say her first 2 solo albums, are a lot better than a lot of her recent stuff. And I still stand by, even though there were issues with her father, that pretty much when she fired him, which was like, around the time I think 4 came out or shortly after, what have you, it was back in 2014, everything changed for Beyonce. Because at that point, she was reaching the pinnacle of success. She was just coming off the crossover success of I Am Sasha Fierce and getting that international audience and getting that buzz. Single Ladies was everywhere. And then it just kind of, you know, it just fell apart after she fired her father. And as a result, you know, Beyonce started chasing trends in music ever since. She had been doing, you know, the singing, rapping stuff. She was, you know, taking the songs that Rihanna rejected. That was pretty much half of the self-titled album. And even a couple of songs on Lemonade was songs that were originally offered to Rihanna that Rihanna said thanks, but no thanks, right? And then ever since, it's just been some type of thing. Okay, we're going to do an Afrobeats album. We're going to do a disco album. We're going to do a country album. We're next going to do a rock album. Then a gospel album. We're just going to do every single genre until I get an album of the year from the Grammys. And it is what it is, right? But the thing that separates these other artists is that they don't care about this validation. They don't care about all these accolades. They understand that nothing is given to them. They understand, especially in the music industry, there is all of these politics, there is all of this drama, and that there is all this chaos. But, you know, for whatever reason, it seems that Beyonce, you know, via Jay-Z and via her mom, put the onus on, I have to have every award. I have to have every record. Even if my song is not the best song. Even if the music isn't as good as my old stuff. I still want the bragging rights of it. But that's not okay, right? And then you years go by and you're trying to recall, okay, you know, what do we know about Beyonce? What's personal about Beyonce outside of her, you know, marriage to Jay-Z and her kids? And people forget who the real Beyonce was on those old service videos of how mean she was to her Destiny's Child, you know, members. And how it was complicated for those other group members because there was clear favoritism. There was a clear conflict of interest and all of the things. But there is a lot right? But I say all this to say, as far as Stephen A. Smith goes, you can't just be talking out of your behind. And I feel like sometimes people overcompensate with trying to put down somebody else to uplift another person. And we do it so much in the Black community, it's getting exhausting. I never see people do this with white artists. To where everybody just has to be compared to everybody. Like, nobody can stand on their own and do their own thing, right? And so, but ultimately, I am curious as to which of the A-listers who are done talking to Stephen A. Smith. And I was happy to hear that Rihanna had a lot of people supporting her, and a lot of people had her back. Because again, it's a different type of performance, it's a different type of experience. Like I said in several videos, if you are expecting to go to a Rihanna concert and see high energy dancing and all of these pyrotechnics and all this money spent on all these special effects, you are at the wrong show. You are not going to enjoy the show. But if your prerogative, if that's what you want to see, if you want the fireworks and people falling from the sky, that is not going to be at the Rihanna show. She is going to give you a clean performance. She's going to, have minimal distraction so that you really can focus on her and focus on the band and focus on the vibe of the concert, right? That's how she's always done it, right? And so if that's not your cup of tea, you're not going to like her concert. But again, that doesn't mean it takes away anything from her, to just, put her down to uplift Beyonce. And that's where Stephen A. Smith misses it, right? We can all have our preference of who we prefer as singers, as actors, as athletes, and all these things, but you don't have to put down another person to uplift somebody else. And that ultimately was, what Jay-Z was trying to say, but ultimately he was trying to protect his position as the activities coordinator for the NFL Super Bowl halftime show. And he doesn't want anybody that he is calling up personally to perform to be called a flop, to be called not as good as Beyonce, because the whole point of this is to bring excellence to the halftime show. So there is that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post new content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.